Good morning, guys. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. It's Sunday, 12/13. Christmas right around the corner, guys. Hope you got your shopping done. Right off the top, let me again thank the groups that allow me to share this. If I'm sharing it to your group today, there'll be significant college football discussion. There'll be NFL discussion. And I don't know that we'll get off those two topics too much. It's a beautiful day in East Greenbush, New York here. We're still the first and only live streaming webcast from East Greenbush, New York. Certainly proud of that. And it's a gorgeous day here. The sun's coming out. It's already almost 50. It's going to be in the low 50s today for the next couple of days. And I think we've got some snow coming, sadly. Sorry to use that four-letter word, but it's inevitable, guys. It's inevitable. So today, good morning, Dave Guyette. I think this morning, we're going to talk about, talk about a few things. We're going to get into quickly the college football schedule. Yesterday, some crazy games. Devastating loss for Florida in horrible fashion. We're going to talk about the championship weekend preview next week for college football. We'll look at the playoff situation, how it stands today, and how it could hash out. I'll touch a little bit about on a vlog I did the other day about expanding the playoff to 16 teams, which has been met with great derision on the college football sites that I've posted it. For the most part, few people agree with me, but it made for good discussion. And we'll also get into the NFL. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL coaching and quarterback carousels that are likely to take place. And, we'll dive into week 14 on our picks. And, of course, if any of our elite pickers are with us today, I do see Rick Sherlock. Good morning, Rick. I'm sure at some point William Pulver will join us, along with possibly my brother-in-law and anybody else that wants to join. Brett Cloutier. As Austin Powers would say, who throws a show seriously? I throw a show. Brett pointed out today that one of my main sources for information is a Canadian operation, The Score. If you don't have the app, it's a really good app for sports news and scores and whatnot. And Brett pointed out to me today that it's a Canadian operation, which I was not aware of actually till today. So thank you. Oh, who throws a shoe? We're going to talk about the shoe, Brett. I promise you. So anyway, guys, that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's just jump into the scoreboard quickly. We'll cover the shoe and lots of other stuff, as we go through it. So I'm going to stick probably mostly with the top 25 in FBS. Just some interesting games this last weekend. Some had playoff implications, some do not. Many do not. It's a conversation that I had with one of the commenters on my vlog the other day about the college football playoff, about how every game matters in college football. Well, I beg to differ. Going into yesterday's games, I mean, the Big Ten championship game was set. The SEC championship was set. The ACC championship was set. I mean, we can't have a playoff because every game in the regular season is meaningful. There wasn't one meaningful game yesterday. Not one. Now, I understand this is an odd year. We have to throw this. It's an outlier, right? But still, Dave Guyette wants the snow. Football season. Well, I don't know, Dave. I don't have to go out in the snow right now. I will mention quickly, we're heading into our 9th month working remotely in my real world job. And, I'm thankful for the opportunity to do that. As I said in my Thanksgiving message here a few weeks back, not everybody's in that situation. And I'm really, my heart goes out to those that aren't. But we're heading into our 9th month, and I don't miss, the possibility of driving in the snow all winter long. So let's jump into the scoreboard quick because I got a lot I want to cover today, both on the college and the NFL scene. So, and we got to do our picks. So anybody new wants to jump in, if you're still with us at the end of the show, Brett, you're welcome to jump in and do our picks against the spread. My regular crowd, mostly regular crowd, is Billy Pulver, Drew Ehrlich, Rick Sherlock. We'll see who is available at that time. So quickly yesterday, I'm going to start with the Alabama one because they're obviously the number one team in the nation, and you got to start somewhere, and that's where the scoreboard starts. Doesn't really matter. Alabama number one, 52-3 over Arkansas. No surprise there. Alabama's in the playoff. Doesn't matter what they do next week against Florida. They're in. They could get beat 60-0. They'll be in the playoff. Florida, on the other hand, loses to previously horrendous LSU. Lots going on at LSU. One of the worst follow-up seasons to a championship season in history. They've got some scandals on campus with some sexual misconduct allegations, and it's getting to be ugly there. And Ed Orgeron, who has been the toast of the town for a year, is starting to feel a little heat. So we'll see what happens there. LSU. Barbara Clinton, good morning. LSU fan? LSU wins 37-34. Florida should not have let them even in the game based on what we've seen already this year. And there was just some odd plays, in a game that features a potential Heisman candidate trophy and Kyle Trask for Florida. The biggest pass of the game was thrown by a cornerback from LSU. And the biggest pass of the game was probably the 30-yard pass of a shoe by a Florida defensive player whose name is escaping me right now. Somebody can share it with me. That'd be awesome. But it doesn't really matter. His name is irrelevant. To me, this stuff comes down to coaching. When players are undisciplined like this, to let you know, near the end of the game, LSU is driving, big third down stop. Probably going to have to kick the football. And a Florida player takes a shoe off an LSU player and throws it probably 30 yards. It's an impressive toss. And great victory for your team, Barbara. Barbara is an LSU fan, and I don't mean anything. LSU had a great year last year, so this is a tough season for them, and I understand that, especially when you lose as many guys to the NFL, and some of your best players have opted out because of COVID-19. But in any event, a great win for them yesterday, but one of the most foolish, unsportsmanlike penalties I've ever seen in my life. Throwing a shoe 30 yards, as Brett said earlier. Who throws a shoe seriously, to quote the great Austin Powers? Just a horrible loss for Florida. They go into the I'm not even sure. It's their second loss now. Remember, they lost to Texas A&M. I think it will be difficult for them to get into playoff, even with a win against Alabama. We're going to get to Georgia in a second. Rick is talking about Georgia got off to a slow start before rolling. Yesterday, agreed. We're going to jump in that. Army-Navy game was, Army-Navy game is one of my favorites ever. It's my favorite game of the year, really, to be honest with you. And we'll jump into that as we go forward. I'm just reading some of the comments. I like to keep up with your guys' comments on. If you're new to the live broadcast, maybe you watch it on replay. I do like to. I kind of go back and forth and back up a little bit because there is a delay from when you guys answer, and I try to keep up. So yes, Barbara agrees. 14 players from last year went to the NFL from LSU. Tough year for LSU, but again, part of it is understandable. We'll jump into Rick's comments here in a bit. And Barbara agrees that obviously the shoe cost Florida the game and probably shot at the national championship in my mind. I don't think they get in. And we're going to get into the playoff situation a bit later. But I don't think they're going to have a chance to get to the playoff now with 2 losses. And again, I don't know. Part of it's good, part of it's bad. Amsterdam to New Orleans. Really? Interesting, Barbara. Tell us about New Orleans. We'll make some comments as we go forward. Whoa. All right. We're glad to have you, Barbara. Anyway, Barbara's a new, at least live viewer to the show, so welcome. Let's jump on. Georgia happens to be next on the scoreboard. Georgia wins 49-14, as Rick Sherlock said, who is a big Georgia fan. You know, they got off to a bit of a slow start, but they end up rolling 49-14. They cannot have playoff aspirations. Sorry. You know, if you don't make this is another thing that I have a problem with. There's going to be a couple of teams with possibly a shot at getting in this playoff that are not even in championship games. We'll look at it a little bit when we look at the rankings, which will change come Tuesday. In an atrocious game. I think you guys know that I'm a fan of the Miami Hurricanes. Became a fan when I married my wife. Her son did his undergrad studies at Miami University and was a big fan. They've been fans. I became a fan, and I'm now a big fan. And just an atrocious effort yesterday. 62-26. They lose at home to North Carolina, who previously, it's a good North Carolina team. Mac Jones has done a great job there. He's got one of the best recruiting classes in the country. But to lose at home and give up, 550 yards combined rushing to Michael Carter and Williams, his backfield mate, just awful. The offense was not much better. I'll give you a little interesting sidelight here. So I tell you guys every week about a little private wagering club that we have. And I will tell you yesterday, my wagers were USC, Iowa, and I originally had gone over 70 in the Miami, North Carolina game. And as I took a shower and got ready for the game at 3:30, I thought, I can't be rooting for North Carolina to score on every possession, which you nearly need to do if you're going to get a 70 over. The over-unders are outrageous in college football today for the most part. I can remember when 42 was a lot. 70 was a number. Well, I go downstairs. I send an email. I change my wager. I said, I can't, in good conscience, do this and root against the Hurricanes for half the game. Brilliant move. I changed to Miami, -3. So 3 out of 3 becomes 2 out of 3 yesterday. Brilliant, Keith. Brilliant. This is why I'm struggling this year, guys, right and left. Coastal Carolina, number 13, pulls out a victory. What storybook season for Coastal Carolina. One of the great stories. I know Rick is going to talk a little bit, probably make a comment here about their perceived thuggery. They do carry a chip on their shoulder. I will say that. But they're an interesting story regardless this year. You know, they're 13th in the country. They're 11-0 now. Their season was on the line against a mediocre Troy team yesterday. I think there was only 30-some seconds left in the game when they scored on a 20-yardish pass play to come back and win that game 42-38. So their Cinderella season continues. Again, the Coastal Carolinas are the reason I think, go back and watch my vlog from Friday, that I think we need to expand the playoff and give these teams a shot at the big boys. The big boys will never let them in. They won't play them during the regular season. I had, again, tremendous feedback to my vlog on Friday. I love that. And maybe I got to get a little more controversial in these vlogs like I did Friday, because it stirred great debate with several people in the college football sites who really took umbrage with the fact that I want to do this, thinking they tell me every game matters already. Chip and dirty are different things. Well, I agree, Rick. And I will admit that I have not watched enough of Coastal Carolina to know if this is a weekly problem with this team, or it's, a one-off instance we saw in against BYU. So anyway, it's a great story regardless. And they should get a chance. They should get a chance to play against the big boys. And the big boys are not scheduling Coastal Carolina when they're good. They're not scheduling Cincinnati. So they don't get a chance to play these guys. So put them in a playoff, give them a chance. Will they do well most years? No. But I think the chance for Cinderella is a no-brainer. Look at what the NCAA tournament does in basketball. March Madness. Does it hurt the sport? Does the regular season not matter? Maybe. The regular season will still matter in the process that I laid out in the vlog. So take a look. Some other games that really don't matter so much. Northwestern already had wrapped up a spot in the championship game with the Big Ten, which we'll talk about in a second. They win handily over Illinois, 28-10. With USC with a great finish. They can't seem to really get their stuff together, it seems, until the last minute of games. I believe that they've got they're 5-0. I think 3 of their victories have been in the last minute of the game, coming back from behind. And last night, with 38 seconds left, or maybe it was 58 seconds, I'm not sure. Not much time, no timeouts. They fall behind to UCLA, who kicked a 43-yard field goal to go ahead 38-37. And 38-36, I believe. And USC promptly went down the field, starting with a great kick return of 50-ish yards. And 2 plays later, they're in the end zone. They win 43-38. No playoff implications here. USC will get to their championship game, but again, Pac-10 has just not played enough games, in my mind, to be anywhere near a playoff spot. But we'll see. I mean, crazy with Florida losing, Texas A&M not playing in the conference championship game. It's going to be it could get interesting depending what happens in these championship games next week. Some other games, Wisconsin gets rolled over by Iowa. BYU beats San Diego State 28-14. Colorado gets beat. They were undefeated. They get beat by Utah at home. Oklahoma State, which is probably more important to this is probably who the playoff committee was watching yesterday, was Oklahoma State burying Baylor rather than Coastal Carolina. And again, as is the rule, guys, games canceled right and left. Just top 25 games canceled yesterday. A&M and Ole Miss, Cincinnati, Tulsa, which will be a rematch, would have been a rematch next week. And again, to my point about games that don't matter, this game really would not have mattered if it had been played, because they would have played in the playoff again next week, or their championship game, conference championship game, excuse me. Oklahoma, West Virginia canceled. Oklahoma had already wrapped up a spot. Purdue, Indiana canceled. Texas and Kansas canceled as well. Couple things of note yesterday. Sarah Fuller from Vanderbilt becomes the first woman to score a point in a Power 5 college football game by kicking a extra point yesterday. Congratulations to her. Again, we hope that this does not. Again, I want women to have their chance to play against men where it makes sense. On the football field, I have my doubts. If she gets clocked on a kickoff return or something, and it could lead to serious repercussions, right? So, crazy game in God, where was it? I think it was Ball State. Let me find my notes here. Crazy finish, guys. If you had watched, and I'm sure you probably didn't watch this game, but just a crazy finish. I'll find it here, I promise you. There it is. Ball State and Western Michigan. Western Michigan's ahead. How's this go? Ball State's ahead. Western Michigan is 20 laterals. 20 laterals. They fumbled the ball at one point, and it looked like Ball State had gotten it. Their players rushed the field, but Western Michigan came away with the ball, and after 20 laterals, scored a touchdown, seemingly which would have been fitting in this crazy year that we've had here. Would have been fitting to win the game that way, but there had been a penalty back on the 8th or 9th lateral for illegal forward pass, and it just was not to be. So anyway, it was still a crazy thing to watch. If you get a chance to watch it. Army Navy yesterday, Rick mentioned earlier. It's my favorite game of the year, to be honest with you, when the military academies get together. These two and the Air Force games with Navy and Army are important too. I think it's unfortunate because normally they have the day to themselves, the stage to themselves, but with COVID this year and all these postponements, games have been pushed back. So there was a lot of games yesterday, most of them irrelevant, other than the LSU Florida games that turned out. Again, Miami, North Carolina had implications for the Orange Bowl, but for the playoff situation or conference championship games, nothing really mattered other than even the Florida LSU game didn't matter except for the playoff itself. Florida will still play in the conference championship game next week. But the Army Navy game yesterday played at West Point for the first time in 73 years, I want to say. And Navy's offense is just a mess. They didn't score a point. The game was played in a if this might be an oxymoron, I'm not sure. No, it wouldn't be an oxymoron, but a blinding fog, we'll call it, most of the game. And Army, their coach, Todd Monk, has done a great job there. I think 3 of the last 4 years he's had winning seasons. He's won 9 games, I think, in at least 1 or 2 of those seasons. He's a great coach. He's getting mentioned for some Power 5 conference jobs. He was mentioned in the South Carolina search, which went to Beamer. I don't know, though. The problem is the offense they play. These teams are skeptical of bringing these guys into more prominent jobs. It worked out for Georgia Tech when they brought the Navy head coaches, and I'll butcher his name. I can't say Ken's name, so I apologize. His predecessor, Paul Johnson, went to Georgia Tech and had great success running the triple option there, or the wishbone, and all kinds of different variations of that triple option. And now the Navy head coach, Ken is going to be up for the Arizona job, which he dallied with. Blinding fog is a personification. Yes. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it when Drew gets in here and keeps me on the right track. Because as we know, I spend my days in a blinding fog most of the time, which is why we drink coffee. We have to hear from Bill Palver yet. Hopefully Billy's not getting liquored up before the show. I kid you, Bill. We have new people in the room. We don't want them to give them the wrong impression. So anyway, he'll be under consideration for the Arizona job as they fired Kevin Suleman yesterday after an atrocious loss to Arizona State, 70-7, I believe was the final score on Friday night. Just awful. And there'll be some other changes. It seems Tom Herman will keep his job with Texas. It looks like the AD said that yesterday. There'll be some other changes probably at Michigan. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. But we'll get into the coaching carousel on the college level maybe in a few weeks as things start to settle down game-wise. Let's see. Let's jump into the let's look into our crystal ball and go to the college conference championship games. And I'm going to give you my take, pick my winners. And once we get there, we're going to kind of look at the playoff rankings. Okay. And I'm going to do a vlog, I think, this week on the Heisman itself, by the way. I was asked to do it. I already had a plan to do the vlog that I did about the playoff system Friday, but I think this week maybe we'll jump into the Heisman a bit. Conference USA championship game. These games are on Friday. Still no site determined for this game, but Marshall is playing UAB. Marshall's got a really good team. UAB has played okay. But I got to believe Marshall comes away with the victory here. Probably handily. Will not play into any playoff implications, obviously. But in a different scenario, such as mine, it might. My scenario, I'll get into my scenario afterwards. MAC championship game, kind of an interesting game. These teams have not played a lot of games similar to the Pac-12 because they started their season late, but Buffalo's had a great season at 5-0. We'll play Ball State, we mentioned yesterday, and they'll play at Ford Field, 7:30 Friday night. The Pac-12, USC in any other year, would probably have playoff consideration. They'll probably make a big jump this week in the rankings when they come out Tuesday. They will not have a shot because of the late start for the Pac-12. Lack of quality games. UCLA's got Chip Kelly's got UCLA on the right track, I think, out there. They beat they didn't get a chance to play Colorado because of the short season. But USC will play Washington. That game will be basically be the home game for USC at the LA Coliseum, and that game will be at 8:00 Friday night. It's a great week. This is a great weekend for football coming up. Real games that matter. Big Ten championship game. A little controversy here. Northwestern will play Ohio State. Ohio State's game against Michigan yesterday canceled, sadly. First time they hadn't played since, I saw the number, but it's a lot of years. Feels like 100 years I had seen. 1917 sticking in my head, but I'm not sure that that's correct. Regardless, a long time. Michigan had a lot of COVID situations. There's rumors that Harbaugh did not want to get his ass kicked again by Ohio State, probably worse than ever. But anyway, Ohio State will play Northwestern. Big Ten had a rule that you had to play 5 games to be eligible for the championship game. They waived it for Ohio State this week. There's a couple levels to this whole thing. Should there be such a rule in the first place? I don't know. Should have been waived in the COVID year? Probably. Especially when the Big Ten put themselves behind the 8 ball by not starting their season until October. Late October. But I have to wonder if the Big Ten makes this move if it's Indiana. 1917. Thank you, Rick. Sometimes my memory works. I don't know if it's a coffee or maybe the Prevagen I'm thinking about taking. Maybe it's a placebo effect. And just thinking about taking it will affect my mind. Let's see how it goes the rest of the day. Anyway, look, back to the Big Ten. Do they make this decision if Ohio State's got 6 wins? And let's just say Ohio State had 6 games. They were 5-1. Indiana was 5-0. Would they make this waiver for Indiana? I doubt it. One of the great stories of this college football season, by the way, Indiana. They're only lost to Ohio State, and they played very gamely in that game. So anyway, I got a bad taste in my mouth. The Big Ten makes the right move if you take it from the perspective, who's got the best chance to make the playoff. If they let Indiana, well, Indiana may have had a shot if they'd won that game convincingly against Northwestern with everything that happened with Florida yesterday. We're going to look at those standings, and I've got a hunch. Only 2 conferences represented, but that's just me. The Sun Belt Conference, Louisiana against previously mentioned undefeated Coastal Carolina. That game will be at Brooks Stadium. By the way, the Big 12, I missed the Big 12 game, sorry. The Big 10 game is in Lucas Oil Stadium. The Big 12 championship game I'm skipping over. I don't want to do that. Oklahoma against Iowa State. Very interesting game. Iowa State's in the hunt now, probably for to get in that playoff, depending again on what happens in the Alabama, Florida, the Clemson, Notre Dame games specifically, and their game, of course. They need to win convincingly against Oklahoma, but Iowa State has jumped up quickly the last 2 weeks, from the low teens to 13 to 6, I believe, last week. We'll look at that in a second. That game will be at Jerry Jones Stadium, also known as AT&T Stadium in Arlington, the shrine that Jerry built to himself there in Dallas or Arlington. Sorry. Sunbelt Conference, as I mentioned, Brooks Stadium, Conway, South Carolina, Coastal Carolina, basically the home team here. 12 p.m. on ESPN. The other two games were on Fox and ABC, respectively, by the way, at noon. Great day of football Saturday. Coastal Carolina, I like to win this game. I didn't pick a winner in the other two games. I'll do it right now. Ohio State will certainly beat Northwestern and probably very handily, and we'll see how that affects their playoff chances. They need to win big, in my mind. The Big 12, I like Iowa State to beat Oklahoma. I think it'll be a very close game and a high-scoring game at that. If I pick the over there, I will not switch off that. Shannon, if you're watching, I know you did the same thing Friday night. I still can't for the life of me believe I jumped off that over and bet Miami. What a dummy. Okay, ACC Championship game, 4 p.m. ABC, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Clemson versus Notre Dame. Huge rematch. As you know, Notre Dame beat Clemson in a very close game a few weeks ago, probably a month ago now, without Trevor Lawrence. Big game. I think Clemson can lose this game close and still make it to the playoff. I think Notre Dame can lose this game and not get blown out, still make it to the championship game. So I'm going to take Clemson to win this game. The American Championship game, Tulsa against Cincinnati. American Champion AAC, American Athletic Conference. As you know, one of my pet conferences. Love this league. Cincinnati undefeated. Tulsa with one loss. The game's going to be in Cincinnati. It's 8 p.m. on ABC. Cincinnati still harboring hopes of getting into that playoff. It's debatable just because of the politics involved. Again, hence my reasoning for thinking we need to expand the playoff. Then you got the Mountain West Championship game, Boise State against an undefeated San Jose State team. Site to be determined. The time is to be determined. It'll be on Fox or FS1. Great. San Jose State's a great story, too. They're undefeated. I believe they started their season late, so they're only 5 or 6-0. But under some trying circumstances the last few weeks, they've been displaced from their home. They can't practice in their home county. They can't play there because of COVID restrictions, similar to Stanford and the 49ers in the NFL. So great story there. Probably be a great game and probably a shootout there as well. And I don't know why these other conferences are listed because they are not playing championship games. They have not played any games. The MEAC and the SWAC have not played any games, but for some reason they have championship games scheduled in April and May. So maybe they're still planning on playing a spring season. Anyway, those are the championship games next week, which will very significantly impact the playoff rankings. Right now, you have Alabama at 1, Notre Dame at 2, Clemson at 3, Ohio State at 4, A&M at 5, Florida at 6. They got to drop after losing yesterday. Bad loss. Horrible loss to LSU. Sorry, Barbara. I don't mean to be jumping all over your team, one of my new viewers. Iowa State at 7, poised to move up. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved up possibly as far as 5. Cincinnati didn't play. They're stuck in that 8 position. Georgia at 9 will probably move up ahead of Florida. I would say, Rick, and kind of, again, make themselves an outside contender depending on if there's some blowouts. Again, are the rest of these teams relevant? I doubt it. Miami lost. Oklahoma didn't play, and doesn't matter what they do in their championship game. They're not getting in. Indiana will play in their championship game. They'll move up probably, not far enough probably to jump over anybody because, again, they're going to play a crossover game next week, but not the championship game that they should be playing in probably. And you got Coastal Carolina at 13, Northwestern at 14. Southern Cal, I'll mention, the last team I mentioned in this poll. Well, I'll mention three other teams. South Carolina, Southern Cal, boy, South Carolina. They're both USC. Well, I'm confusing myself. Apologize. USC West, Southern California. They're 4-5-0 now. 5-0. All mostly very close last-second victories. Interesting. You cannot see Barbara's comments. Interesting. Barbara J. Clinton. She could be on the feed from Wake Up to the Vibe, which I shared with today, Drew. It's possible. That's why we don't. I see her in the main. I don't always see all the comments either, just so you know. The guys that are on here on my site, TGI Sports Talk site, I do see your comments. Sometimes I get the guys from Wake Up to the Vibe when I share it there. And we'll talk more about Wake Up to the Vibe as we go forward. I want to Joe Altieri from Wake Up to the Vibe is the one who kind of kicked me off on this path, which I have enjoyed. And Joe's kind of doing some other things right now and trying to retool what he does with Wake Up to the Vibe. So we're still part of his network until he tells me differently. But, you know, that's still to be determined. So Barbara could be there. Not sure. There's my dad's in this morning. Good morning, Bob Engel. Thanks for showing up. I love you guys. All right. So anyway, USC possibly will probably I'm thinking they'll jump up significantly in standings. Probably jump over, you know, the way the committee works, they'll probably jump over Cincinnati at 8-0, you know, with 5 games under their belt. I just don't get it. You know, Georgia's liable to jump over Cincinnati. Not right, guys. This is what's wrong with this four team playoff, because now, you know, the committee does what they can do to jockey guys in a position to make a move that last week or last few weeks. That's why Iowa State has jumped up so fast. USC's jumped a bunch of spots here in a few weeks, and I see them jumping. Maybe they'll go past Georgia too. I don't know. They'll definitely go past Miami. They'll go past Oklahoma. They'll go past Indiana. We'll see. Tuesday night, we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, this week, Florida's going to drop. So here's how I see this playing out. Alabama, they're in. It doesn't matter what they do against Florida. Can Florida get back up and get in, or should they get in if they were to win against Alabama? I don't think so. 2-loss team. Maybe. This is a bad loss against LSU, though. Billy, are you here yet? Well, you're here now. Rick Sherlock was just asking where the pulverizer was. Welcome, Bill. Sorehead. Yeah, you had. I saw that you had Biden and Hillary over to your house last night for a Christmas party. I would have a sore head too, probably, if I spent the night with those two people. But we don't talk about those things on this show. Just a question, Bill. How many times did Cardboard Joe say folks last night? Just curious. I got a drinking game, and I'll catch up today once you give me a number. All right. Where was I? Alabama's in no matter what. Florida, can they get in? I don't think so, guys. Gets beat, they fall out. We know that. So if they fall out, you're looking at Texas A&M, Iowa State, Cincinnati. Iowa State wins. If Iowa State wins and Ohio State wins a close game against Northwestern, I think the committee may scoot Iowa State in there. Folks, he could not stop. I knew it. I knew he couldn't do it. Well, if you give me a number, I'll have to drink that many beers later. I don't like to drink on Sunday. But we'll do it if we have to, Bill. Let's continue. The 4 top teams. Will they serve no matter what happens next week? I think it's possible. Alabama doesn't lose. Doesn't matter if they lose. They're in. Notre Dame, if they lose close, they're in. If they get blown out, it's a different story. They could possibly fall. out, but the committee's going to want him in there. Clemson, do they need to win? Can they lose close again and hold? I think so. Do they have a better? But then again, do they have a better case than Texas A&M? Than Florida with 2 losses? Should Texas A&M be considered with only 1 loss over these 2-loss teams, even though they don't make their conference championship game? No. The way it's set up now with 4 teams, you can't take teams that don't make their conference championship game. You could take teams that lose their conference championship game. I'm okay with that under this system. And you could take teams that don't make their conference championship game if you expand to 16 teams, as I advocated for in my vlog on Friday. Watch it. Got a lot of controversial replies about it from the sites that I post to. But that's what it's for. Again, I'm trying to elicit some conversation. We had some great conversation. And there's a good argument to be made against it as well as for it. But I like it. And just to kind of recap real quickly here, I advocated for a 16-team playoff. The 10 major FBS conferences get automatic buys. They're champions. And it's going to be better than the NCAA basketball tournament in the sense, because you're not going to get a team that's 500 winning the conference championship. Can't happen. Happens in basketball all the time. You're going to have the best 2 teams playing every year for the conference championship, and they get into the automatic field. It's 10 that I counted. Gives you room for 6 at-large teams. Some of the comments where you'll have 2 and 3 Michigan and Iowa teams. No, Michigan wouldn't be up for a wild card this year. I mean, the teams you'd be considering for a wild card right now, under my system, let's just say everything holds serve. The wild card here I think it's a 6-team race right now. I'd like to say 7. I'd like to think they'll consider Cincinnati, and maybe they'll consider the Jets, Billy, as you mentioned here, that they would win the college playoff. I don't know. I think they get beat handily by Alabama in the first game, but this first semifinal. But that's just me. So maybe 6 teams are still in play. Maybe 7 teams are still in. Maybe 7 teams are still in play. But I think it would have been possible before yesterday for there to be just 2 conferences represented. I could have made a case before yesterday for Alabama and Florida and Notre Dame and Clemson all to make the final. 4 teams. Semifinals would be New Year's Day, by the way, the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl. So with Florida losing yesterday, it opens up the door for less debate for Ohio State if they win and they're 6-0. They're probably going to get in, no matter what they do. So the question becomes, and Alabama's in. And again, Ohio State's not losing to Northwestern. As great a job as Pat Fitzgerald has done there, not this year, but in many other years, I don't think they're staying close to Ohio State. I don't think. So let's just say that leaves Notre Dame and Clemson. Who gets into the losers there? Notre Dame loses close. I said they're in. Clemson wins, they're in, obviously. If Clemson loses, do they get in with the 2 losses? Do you consider Texas A&M? Not over Clemson. A 2-loss Clemson team in their conference championship game is a better pick than Texas A&M. It's a better pick than Florida. Is it a better pick than Iowa State? If Iowa State beats Oklahoma, that's the wild card. To me, the wild card is Clemson losing, Notre Dame getting blown out. That brings Florida back into play, they got to win against Alabama, or it doesn't matter, by the way. Iowa State's got to win against Oklahoma. Cincinnati's got to win and be, I think, pass the eye test against Tulsa. And that's probably all you have. Georgia should not be able to get in with 2 losses. Sorry, Rick, with 2 losses and not playing in their conference championship game. Not under this scenario. Under my scenario, watch the vlog, Georgia would still be in play. Especially they're playing well right now. Much better than they have all year, I think. And Indiana would be in play. Indiana really gets screwed in this whole thing because they're 6-1. They lost Ohio State, played a very representative game, and they're not going to have a chance. They don't get to play in the conference championship game. They don't. I got a bad taste in my mouth about the Indiana's the way they're going to finish here. Hopefully, they get a good bowl game New Year's Day. So that's kind of how I see that fleshing out, guys. Much else to cover here? The Heisman race, I guess. I don't think a whole lot has changed here. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence is definitely still probably the front runner, I would say. It kind of matters, who the finalists are. I think Kyle Trask hurts his case yesterday, losing that game to LSU. Mac Jones. Mac Jones is probably running 1-1A with Trevor Lawrence right now. Devontae Smith has boosted his standing, the Alabama wide receiver. Josh Fields, I don't know, the lack of games, a couple of games where he didn't play, at least one game he didn't play all that well. And I don't know. Those right now are probably the four guys that are in the front, in my mind, kind of front runners right now. Ian Book, I have said this a couple of times. I am so impressed with Ian Book and the way he's grown at Notre Dame as that quarterback. I mean, if nothing, he ought to get some kind of, he's a 4-year starter, 3-year starter. He ought to get some kind of lifetime achievement award if he doesn't win the Heisman. He has become such a great clutch player. I can't wait to watch him play against Clemson again next week. He is calm. He is cool. He does it with his arm. He does it with his legs. I like his game. And I'll talk about it in the NFL segment here. But I just have this feeling he's not going to be he'll probably be underdrafted. And I hope a certain coach in Foxborough is watching game tape of Ian Book right now. Because under the radar, I think there's a guy with a chance to make some moves and help some teams. And we're going to talk here in a second about the NFL, and one thing we're going to concentrate on are, if we have time, I think we have time to do it all. We're going to look at the playoff picture quick. We're going to look at we're going to start right now, actually. So that's it for college football. If you guys have anything else you want to add, put a comment up. I'll go backwards. Well, let's move on to the professional side of things. Let's take a quick look around the league, guys. To me, obviously we got one game under our belt this week, which was not pretty, and we'll talk about in a second. Let's look at the playoff picture right now. Right now in the AFC, which is, to me, is much deeper than the NFC as far as talent playoff teams. Right now you got Buffalo in. These are division winners. Buffalo's in. Pittsburgh's in. Tennessee's in. I believe they have the tiebreaker. They do have the tiebreaker over the Colts and Kansas City. Your other three teams would be the Dolphins at 8-4. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Dolphins at 8-4. The Browns at 9-3. And the Colts at 8-4. The Colts that I just hate. Oh, Drew hates my college football segment, apparently. I apologize. Maybe it's self-indulgent. But I'll tell you what, I get a lot of views from the college football sites that I post to, so we're going to have to continue that. But only for a few more weeks, Drew, and we'll be talking about baseball and professional football. And I'll have to slide some basketball in probably. I'm thinking about doing separate shows. I'm trying to figure out a logistical way to do it and schedule it and do separate shows on each. An hour on football, an hour on baseball, just so I can more easily share to the groups that I share to and not turn them off with content they don't want to see either. So anyway, so there's the teams you have in the AFC, right? And still fighting for spots would be the Ravens at 7-5. They're a game behind the Dolphins. Raiders are 7-5, a game behind the Daltons. The Daltons. Yeah, the Daltons. Who else is alive? I said the Ravens. That might be it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. You've got 4 teams probably fighting for 2 spots. The division is still up in the air in the AFC East with the Bills and the Dolphins, but I think the Bills will beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins will probably beat the Patriots next week. Yeah, the Daltons. You know the Daltons, don't you, Bill? Drew says he doesn't hate the college. It's too strong a statement. He's indifferent. I love college football. Probably as much as I love NFL football. But this year has been rough. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. The Steelers have probably wrapped up their division. I don't see really. I mean, Cleveland have to win out. And I don't know. I don't see any way they blow that to the Browns. I'm still not a big Browns fan. 9-3, I'm still not a believer. They've still given up more points than they've scored. So, to me, Kansas City is the front runner here by far. Steelers were exposed a little bit against the Redskins, and we talked about it right here in this room. Yeah, the Daltons were a wild desperado, Western desperado game. That was me. That's why I thought of them. I was a Dalton when I was a kid. Don't I look like it? I digress. Again, the Chiefs are I think the Chiefs are the prohibitive favorite in the AFC. The Steelers, while they were primed for upset, we talked about it in this room last week. They're still good. They got a big game against Buffalo this week, which we'll get to in a bit. But I just think it's Kansas City, the Bills, the Steelers, and then maybe the Titans are the best 4 teams in the AFC. So we'll see. I'm still picking Kansas City to come out of this. The NFC is a mess still. I mean, the only team that seems really head and shoulders above others is the Saints, maybe the Packers. They're both leading their division by 3 games, so they're probably a lock to win their divisions. The Rams are playing really good football. If you watch them really beat up the Patriots on Thursday night, good team, well coached. They put their quarterback in a great situation to succeed more times than not. And their 4 losses, they didn't. You know, Goff cannot sit back there and just sit in the pocket and throw the ball. And when they get all kinds of motion and him rolling out, they really put him in a position to succeed. And the running game is just really fabulous. They just ran it down the Patriots' throat the other night. And then, of course, somebody's got to win the NFC East. I laugh a little at my Giant fans, my friends that are Giants fans, as they're all excited about first place. Woohoo! 5-7, guys. 5-7. You're still looking at a 7-9 division winner, probably, unless one of these teams wins out. I mean, Washington and the Giants have pulled away to a 2-game lead on the rest of this team. The Giants still have given up way more points than they've scored. Washington, interestingly enough, has a plus point differential. Don't sleep on the Redskins. Great coach. And again, I like the Giants. I said last week, and I still think. Billy says Washington's a sleeper. I agree. I think the Giants might be the best team in that division. They got a great coach. I know you're going to say it's my New England bias, but I think they got a great coach, and I think they're heading in the right direction. Daniel Jones is supposed to play today, but they got a tough game. And the Eagles are dead. We're going to talk about the coaches in trouble here in a minute, and theirs is certainly in trouble. And the Cowboys at 3-9 are probably could be positioning themselves to get a quarterback in the draft, and maybe not sign Dak Prescott, who will be a free agent if he does not sign. So very interesting. Anyway, there's your division winners in the NFC. Would be the Giants at the moment. Giants, Packers, Saints, Rams. And obviously the NFC East will change hourly. But the other divisions are pretty much wrapped up. Not the West. I mean, obviously Seattle's still got a chance, but I think overall the Rams are a much better, much more complete team than Seattle. I mean, Russell Wilson can't be counted out. Just amazing he still has not gotten a vote for the MVP in all his years in the league. Who's the other teams? 3 more teams make it. They have to. It's a rule. 3 more teams have to make it. So the Seahawks would make it at 8-4. The Buccaneers, the disappointing Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we'll talk about again in a second. I won't fixate on them this week because I don't want Billy to get mad at me. Billy talks about Washington being a sleeper, and then he mentions Smith holding the ball longer. I hope to God he doesn't. I really fear for Alex Smith re-injuring. I think people forget he nearly lost his leg at a minimum to this injury that he suffered 2 years ago. It's a great story that he came back, but every time I see a pass rush on him, I get a little nervous. I like the kid. So anyway, hope he doesn't hold the ball too long, I guess is my point. So again, the obligatory 2 other teams that have to make it. Well, 1 other team. Right now, we got a tie for the last spot between the Vikings and the Cardinals. Rick Sherlock's Vikings and the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals have been playing really bad ball lately. Kyle Murray has digressed. I got to believe he's got an injury that we'll hear more about later in the season. Hey, big surprise, FedEx just pulled up my house. Every day they're here. I just think there's an injury for Kyle Murray. Vikings again still alive, very up and down. Off to a horrible start, have rebounded well, a couple of bad losses, but they're still in the picture. They're tied right now for the last spot, which talks about the depth, I guess, of the comparing the NFC to the AFC, just in my opinion. So I do think the Vikings will make the playoffs. As it stands now, we're laughed at the NFC East, but there's a possibility a wild card team comes out of there. The Vikings or the team formerly known as the Redskins, and the Giants are 5-7, which is 1 game behind the last wild card spot right now. So I think that last wild card spot will be the Vikings or the Cardinals. And, the Vikings are trending upwards. The Cardinals are trending downwards. Vikings with that awful loss a couple of weeks ago. Rick helped me out. I think it was against the Cowboys. I think we're all on the Vikings, and somehow the Cowboys beat them. But a couple bad losses. They played some bad games this year, but they played much better recently. But they still throw an occasional stinker in there. So we'll see what happens. So that's where you look at. That's our playoff kind of outlook for now. What I want to look at now before we do our picks today, so it's only 10 o'clock, we're going to spend a little time looking at the coaching carousel. I'm going to talk about some coaches in trouble, and I'm going to talk about a list of candidates of potential new head coaches in the league next year, and we're going to break them out with the names we hear all the time, some kids, experienced veterans who may have been coaches before, and then some college potentials. And you guys can decide for yourself who fits best where. So let's just go through, the league quickly. Who's already fired coaches? The Lions, Matt Patricia. The Falcons fired Quinn. Raheem Morris has done a really good job there, and he's going to get consideration for the job. And the Texans. And again, there's some rumors that the Texans are going to keep Romeo Crennel for a year on an interim basis because of the COVID situation and the inability to bring people in and interview in person and whatnot. So who knows what their situation is going to be. But you've also got several other changes on the horizon. The Chargers are going to fire Anthony Lynn. I think it's just a matter of time. I don't care what I read in any New York paper. Adam Gase is not coming back to the Jets. The Jets are not giving the keys to new Trevor Lawrence car to Adam Gase. It's just not happening. They need to bring a quarterback-friendly coach in there. That's what they need to do. Adam Gase had that reputation. I still got Jim Harbaugh in my head. I just do. The Jaguars are going to fire Doug Marrone, I would think. And the Bears are going to fire Nagy. They got a serious quarterback situation. I hear Pat Fitzgerald's name mentioned there very prominently. And I think he'd be a great coach. The Eagles and Peterson are probably going to part ways, maybe mutually. Maybe he leaves on his own. But I think that situation has hit the wall there, and something has got to give. I'm starting to lose some of my light here. I had an all-natural light. Now the sun's gone and it's dark, so I apologize if my picture is pixelating a little bit. Had that problem. I had a problem Friday. Again, here goes my stream of consciousness again. I didn't mention at the top of the show, Roy White was my guest on Friday. Had audio problems that I never had. I tried everything to fix it. And by the end of the show, as I rewatched the interview, it's pretty obvious the problem was coming from Roy's end, and my voice was coming and reverbing from however he was listening to it. So it's the first time I ever had that problem. When I was in the room alone, no problem. And then whenever Roy and I were interacting, he was fine, but I was getting reverb. So just one of those interesting situations that I could not solve. It was a great interview, though. We had a great time with Roy White. Go watch it if you haven't watched it. Please. I don't want to order you guys around. You guys are my friends and my viewers. I'm not ordering you to go watch it. Where was I? Eagles. Peterson. Out, I think. And then you got, I think, one other situation. I'm going to go through the league here quick to see if I missed anybody. But one other situation I've talked about last week. I won't dwell on it. I promise, Billy. Bruce Arians, if they don't make the playoffs or they make the playoffs and go out meekly in the first round, the Bruce Arians situation is going to get very interesting, I think. Because I think you'll have a parting of the ways unless they get on a run here. He's in his late 60s. They got a bunch of great coaches he would probably love to see get a shot. But I keep having this other thought that, if Brady's in some kind of control or given some input. Yeah, the reverb was bad. I know, Drew. I tried everything to fix it. I even tried unplugging. I even tried turning off my soundboard and going to my speaker, but then he couldn't hear me. So we had a little issue. It's going to happen from time to time, and I apologize for the bad audio on my end. Fortunately, Roy did most of the talking. Had a great time with Roy, though. I really did. And I'm trying to get some other Yankees on. Murray Bauer, who's Roy's really good friend and helps him with the Roy White Foundation, by the way, guys. Look it up. They do some great work helping underprivileged kids, potentially get some higher education help or help getting higher education. Murray Bauer's got some names to me that we may be able to get on the show here in the coming months. So I'm really excited about some of the people that he sent me. I won't share right now because nothing's in stone, but we'll talk about it going forward. Okay, back to the Bucks. If Arians goes, I have this other thought, and if Tommy's got some input, which I think you will, because again, they're going to want him to come back, and you say, he's not going to walk away from $25 million. What's $25 million to Tom Brady at this point in his career? It's nothing. I'm trying to turn this light on. Get a little better light on me here. There we go. Still not liking what I see, but I'm fixated with lighting these days, guys. Anyway, if Brady's going to get some input on who the coach is, if Arians leaves, either by his own volition or maybe asked to. Because again, they want him back. Billy, and Billy says Brady won't come back. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. It's not going to be for $25 million. He doesn't care. I mean, he's not even the main breadwinner in his house. His wife dwarfs him when it comes to income. Doesn't need the money. He comes back only for one reason. He wants to win somewhere other than New England. Since they signed, Drew's comment is, since they signed Brady, probably over Arians' objections, which I don't doubt, they keep Brady and dump Arians. That's kind of where I am, Drew. And if that's the case, and they want to placate Tom and get him to come back because he may walk away, you could possibly see Josh McDaniel as the head coach there next year. McDaniel's stock has dropped because of the Patriots' struggle on offense this year, but I don't know that that's a reflection on McDaniel. I think it's a reflection on Bill Belichick and the roster management of this team over the last several years. And Belichick said himself that they went all in, on the 5 previous years, which put them in the bad situation they're in now. So, let's see. What's Drew saying? Brady will want to show he could have won if not for Arians. I don't disagree. So if he walks away and Brady comes back, I think Brady gets some input on who that guy is, and it very well could be Josh McDaniel. Don't be surprised. Don't sleep on Josh McDaniel. Any other teams I missed? You guys can feel free to speak up while I'm looking quickly. Any other teams you think may have a coach in trouble? I guess the Bengals could look to make a change. Their season's kind of falling apart. There's some problems in the locker room. So I did not include them in my listing. Broncos are not going to fire their coach after one season. Cowboys are not going to fire McCarthy after one season, I don't think. I think Mike Zimmer's done a good enough job here turning a dismal season around for the Vikings to write it off as COVID. COVID pass. Panthers have a brand new head coach who I think is, again, you guys know what I think of Matt Rule. And I don't see anybody in the NFC West being even remotely in trouble. So there's your teams in trouble. Texas, we mentioned, they already fired their coach. So it's a matter whether they keep Romeo for an interim for a year or whether they look for a new coach. So some of the guys that you're going to talk about quarterbacks in a second too, once I'm done with the coaches. Here's the names to keep in mind. The names you hear about a lot. Roger Salah. Can't ever say his name. Again, Drew, you can help me out, I guess, with some hooked on phonics if you can step up here and there. Robert Salah, 49ers defensive coordinator, one of the most prominently mentioned names for all the jobs. Brian Daboll, Bills offensive coordinator. He's going to be mentioned for every one of these jobs. Eric Bieniemy, Kansas City offensive coordinator. Be a great fit in a couple places, I can see. The Texans, for instance, would be crazy to keep Romeo Crennel for a year if Eric Bieniemy wanted to come there and work with Deshaun Watson. And some young guys to keep an eye on. We talk about them here a few times this year. Joe Brady, Carolina offensive coordinator. He was the passing game coordinator for LSU last year, who brought Joe Burrow to such great heights. Brandon Staley, Rams defensive coordinator. Mike Daniel, 49ers running game coordinator. Patrick Graham, he is the Rams defensive coordinator, I believe. Mike LaFleur, who's the 49ers passing game, not to be confused with a running game coordinator. Remember when these teams had, a head coach and 2 guys helping them out? Austin Smith, Tennessee offensive coordinator. These are some of the young guys that will have a shot. And you're going to get your veterans, guys who have had jobs or have been assistants for a long time. Leslie Frazier's getting mentioned around the league again. Rick will remember Leslie's time with the Vikings, up and down. Todd Bowles, former Jets coach, Billy. Bucs defensive coordinator. By the way, Leslie Frazier's with the Bills. He's their defensive coordinator now. Bowles, I don't really see getting another chance just yet. I think he will get a chance again just because he coached in such a dysfunctional organization. Leslie Frazier sucks. Well, there you go. Opinion number one. I don't see him getting a job either, Rick. Just FYI. A lot of these guys are guys that you're going to hear the name, so get used to them. Jim Caldwell did a great job with the Lions. As you can see with what happened with Matt Patricia, there's not a lot there. There's some talent on the offensive side of the football, but Jim Caldwell did a reasonable job there and lost his job. And he also coached the Colts to a Super Bowl. Did not win. Steve Spagnuolo, Kansas City defensive coordinator. Steve's had a shot with the Rams. Did not work out well. Raheem Morris, coached Tampa Bay for a while. Had a little success early and then fell apart. But he's doing a pretty good job righting the ship in Atlanta. He'll get interviewed for the job. So he could be in play. Dennis Allen, the Saints defensive coordinator. The Saints have played great defense this year. And believe it or not, Bill Cowher's name comes up. He's going to shoot it down. I think it's probably the New York press who's grabbed onto something. I don't think Bill Cowher's coming back after all this time, but it happens. It happened with Joe Gibbs in Washington. He was out for a decade and came back, a decade or more. I mean, Bill Cowher's been out since when? Gosh, I want to say 15 years. That's probably too long, but it's at least 10, 12 years. And Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis's name has been getting bandied about this past week. Marvin Lewis had not a lot of horrible seasons in Cincinnati, but he never won a playoff game. So I don't know how Marvin Lewis's name gets brought up. He's probably one of the nicest guys in the game. He's a great defensive coordinator. I think he's been working with Herm Lewis the last 2 years, not on the field, but as a consultant to the Arizona State program. So you're going to hear those names. Some of them, 2007 was Cowher's last year, so 13 years, close. I still would be shocked. You guys can give me your opinion on any of those guys that you want. We got an opinion on Zimmer. On Leslie Frazier. But then again, the NFL always gets enamored with some college coaches. Lincoln Riley's name will come up, not going to happen. Ryan Day's name's going to come up, it's not going to happen. But there are some coaches that will consider it, I think. Pat Fitzgerald, I mentioned, from Northwestern, linked very strongly to the Chicago job. By vicinity, the vicinity that he works probably more than anything, but he will get consideration for that and other jobs. I think Shaw from Stanford, he's done a great job there since he took over for Harbaugh. Things have started to kind of level off the last few years. It's very hard to have continued success at a school like Stanford, who keeps their academic standards fairly high. It's hard to compete year after year, but he did it for a long time. Had teams in the playoff hunt a few years, but this may be his last chance to really make that jump if he wants to. And he's a guy that's always talked about being successful on that, being able to make that jump. Matt Campbell, Iowa State. I talked about Iowa State on the college side. Matt Campbell's going to get mentioned for every Power 5 job that comes open. Get mentioned in Texas. He'll get mentioned in Michigan. Texas is probably keeping Tom Herman, as I mentioned earlier. But I think that these NFL teams are going to come after Matt Campbell pretty hard as well. Who else? Jim Harbaugh. Jim's going to look for a place to land. I think he wants out of Michigan. I don't think he'll get fired. He'll only leave if he wants to. but expectations there have not been met. Expectations there are not likely to get met in the near future. And I can see Jim Harbaugh bolting for the NFL this year. And again, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be as many as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 jobs open. It's very possible to be 10 jobs open in the NFL this year. So you're going to see quite some movement on the coaching carousel. So the other thing I wanted to cover quickly before we go to picks is the quarterback situation. Who's looking for a quarterback? I mean, the top quarterbacks coming out are Lawrence, Fields, Trask, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, and Ty Lance. These are probably the top 6 guys. So you only got a few guys with a shot at that. I mean, who's going to look to go with a quarterback in the first round? Let's just go through the teams real quick. Let me go through the teams that will have the best pick draft slots and see if they're going to be interested in the quarterback. Well, we know the Jets are. Trevor Lawrence is pretty much a lock to be the Jets' #1 pick, unless the Jets somehow screw it up. Thank God for – I didn't even talk about it because it's just so comical the way the Jets lost last week. The head coach is still there and defensive coordinator's fired. It's very possible he got some nice parting gifts on the way out so that they didn't lose their shot at Trevor Lawrence. Because remember, the Jaguars only have 1 loss. And Trevor Lawrence, to me, is maybe the only guy that's, a no-brainer here. Quarterbacks go in the first round, high in the first round, and don't work out all the time. Look at Rosen. Look at Darnold for now. I'm still not a big fan of Baker Mayfield. Makes too many mistakes. Anyway, the Jets will definitely be taking a quarterback. The Jaguars will be taking a quarterback. Cincinnati's got 3 losses. They probably won't be taking a quarterback. They just took Joe Burrow. Injury aside, Joe Burrow had a tremendous rookie year with a very bad football team. They will not be taking a quarterback. They could be trading out of that spot. The Eagles, who knows what the Eagles are going to do? Carson Wentz benched for Jalen Hurts. I don't see Jalen Hurts as their answer. I don't see Jalen Hurts as a full-time NFL quarterback. He might be able to play in spots like Hill in New Orleans. Again, over time, those guys, I think, will get exposed. You see what's happening to Lamar Jackson, right? And it's happening right now with Kyle Murray a little bit. Maybe Kyle Murray's banged up, but maybe the league's catching up with him too. Who else? The Cowboys. Interesting spot for the Cowboys with 3 wins. And again, this could change, obviously, over the I'm just going by the potential draft order now. The Cowboys have Dak Wilson as a free agent. As we're talking about this, we talked about the top quarterbacks in college coming out, but there's some unrestricted free agents among the quarterbacks. Dak Prescott. That's awful injury. Is he going to be ready to start the year? Are the Cowboys going to ante up the money that he needs? Personally, I think his draft or his leverage has increased since the injury because of the way the Cowboys have played under Andy Dalton and whatever other stooges they've thrown out there in the meantime. And I don't mean that. Sorry, guys. I'm sure none of the Cowboy quarterbacks are watching me right now, but sorry. Phillip Rivers, who I don't love, will be a free agent. If he doesn't come back to Indianapolis, I think he'll retire. Excuse me. Jacoby Brissett, interesting. I got 2 guys here, maybe 3 guys here that are very interesting free agents. Jacoby Brissett was the starter in Indianapolis before they signed Phillip Rivers, did a very good job. He's a guy that, again, I think the Colts will probably keep Rivers or maybe even try to go out and get Carson Wentz because of his relationship with Frank Reich. If Brissett hits the free agent market, maybe the Patriots are looking at him. Mitchell Trubisky. Another guy I can see the Patriots interested in. There's talent there. Nagy's done a horrible job developing that kid. He regressed almost every year since his second year, his rookie year anyway. And then you got Ryan Fitzpatrick. The rest of these guys aren't going to matter. Andy Dalton's a free agent, but I guess he could sign as a starter somewhere. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 38 years old. He's better off just staying in Miami, but knowing Ryan Fitzpatrick, he looks for a spot he can go and get, play and get another contract for a bit. So anyway, those are the guys, as we're talking about this topic, are available as free agents. There's a lot of other guys that are really, just are not feasible. They're not going to be number one quarterbacks, right? Tyrod Taylor's of the world. Not going to happen. Where was I? Chargers will be picking, theoretically, behind the Cowboys. Chargers aren't picking a quarterback. Justin Herbert's had a huge year. Played great. Didn't play great against the Patriots 2 weeks ago, but he's still in great shape. The Broncos will probably be in mix for a quarterback. I'd be shocked if they weren't. They've had they've been doing a quarterback shuffle there with Drew Lock and Ripien and the rest of the names escape me, but they need a quarterback. Who else do I have in here? Can't read my writing. Back to the standings. The Texans are not taking a quarterback, right? Broncos, I said, are. We'll talk about these teams with 4 wins, 5 wins. The Bears are probably taking a quarterback or look to. Again, maybe not in the first round because, again, not everybody. I just ripped off 6 guys. I'll throw Ian Book in there. There's some other guys that might go in the first round. But remember, you don't get 10 quarterbacks going in the first round, guys. Just because teams need them doesn't mean they'll be drafting them in the first round. But there could be some jockeying back and forth. Some of these teams up in the higher echelon don't need a quarterback. I mentioned Cincinnati, probably the Cowboys, the Chargers. These teams are going to be able to move around and maybe teams move up. So let me just go through quickly. We'll go through all the teams. Do they need a quarterback or they don't? The Bills? Of course not. The Dolphins? Of course not. The Patriots? Absolutely. I cannot believe the Patriots are not playing Jarrett Stidham these last 3 games. Makes no sense. Belichick. I guess the only sense it makes is that Belichick is trying to cover the weaknesses on the offense by playing Cam. Cam can move around, run the ball. A guy who's going to stand there in the pocket like Stidham is going to have trouble. But I think they need to find out if they got a quarterback because they got to go out and, I don't know, maybe they want to get involved in the Dak Prescott sweepstakes. I doubt it. I don't see them signing a free agent unless it's a lesser free agent like Andy Dalton, which probably would have been a better pick this year than Cam. Didn't want to pay him $15 million. But I can see the Patriots in position for a guy like Ian Book, as I mentioned before. He's the kind of guy he'll fall down the draft board, guaranteed. But he's got some intangibles that a guy like Belichick loves. Let's continue. The Jets, Trevor Lawrence, we talked about. He's a due. He's given. Steelers, I don't know. See, the Steelers could look for a quarterback, but not in the first round. Big Ben's getting up there in age. Always banged up, it seems. He seems like he's always hurt. So they could look for a quarterback later on. But I'm sure the Browns aren't going to pick a quarterback with Baker Mayfield there, no matter where I like him or not. Ravens aren't drafting a quarterback. Bengals aren't drafting a quarterback. Titans probably happy with Ryan Tannehill, maybe a late round or mid rounder. Colts, they need to do something. Whether they bring Rivers back or not, he can't play forever. He's 38 years old. How old did we decide he was, Drew? 38? I know I made him like 50 my first time we talked about him. Texans not taking a quarterback. Jaguars are. Chiefs are not. Raiders, unlikely. Carr's played very well this year. That team has been Jekyll and Hyde, man. I don't know what's wrong there. but they're really talented, and they go to get beat 46-3 or whatever against the Falcons 2 weeks ago, and then come back with a big victory last week. So they're hard to figure out. Broncos, yes. Chargers, no. Giants, no. Although I'm not a big Danny Nichols fan. Washington, interesting. They'll be an interesting wild card in the whole drafting of quarterback situation this year. From what I read, there's only 11 quarterbacks were drafted last year. That's right. That's why I say, you're only going to see, I don't know, the Trask is going to go in the first round, to be honest with you. I can see 4 of these guys going in the first round. Lawrence, Fields, Ty Lance, Wilson, and Jones. Jones could fall to the second round. Okay, who else? So Washington. Haskins is looking like a washout. Alex Smith playing great ball. Gosh, he's a hit away from another serious injury. So I guess everybody is in the NFL. The Cowboys, depends on the Dak Prescott thing, but I think the Cowboys will re-sign Dak. I think Dak, as I said, has gotten himself in a better bargaining position than he had before. The Packers, no, they just drafted a quarterback for the future. The Vikings, who knows? Rick, you might have some inside knowledge there. I don't know. I'm sure Cousins is probably prohibitive, got a contract that makes him prohibitive to try to move. So they probably would not be looking for a quarterback this year. The Bears definitely will be. The Lions, again, another wild card. They may want to move on from Matthew Stafford, depending on what they do. And then there'll be some contenders for Stafford. The Patriots have been linked with Stafford. And I think he's a guy who, while he's had some injury problems, is a very good NFL quarterback and really has not had a stellar cast around him as far as a complete team. He's had some good offensive players, but I also don't think he's been the most well-coached guy in the world either. 7 times 32, 224 drafts. What are you talking about? Draft picks? Yeah, it sounds right, Bill. I'll trust your math. You're an accountant, aren't you? Or were. You're retired now, I know. Where was I? The Saints? Who knows? Could be Drew Brees last year. I'll be shocked if Drew Brees comes back, to be honest with you. He hem and hawed about this year. He's had some major injuries this year. Had a major injury last year. Missed significant time both years. He's played well, except for early this year. But he's 40 years old. He may look to go. And is Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill the answer there? Don't know. So there'll be a wild card. Tampa Bay, it's going to matter on Brady. I guess they're going to be needing an answer from him fairly early on. Falcons are another team that could look for a quarterback because there's rumors they may move Matty Ice. Matty's a nice quarterback, but that team has been underachieving for a long time. Long time. A lot of pink slips coming. I agree. Quarterbacks and head coaches. Carolina. I don't know. I think Matt Rule likes Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater's played well. He played well last year, filling in for the aforementioned Drew Brees. But Bridgewater, is he going to take it to the Super Bowl? I don't know if he's got that kind of talent. So they could be looking to move up and may not need to get one of these top guys. Rams, very doubtful. Like they really love Goff. And again, he fits that offense. When they play their offense, he is really good. Seattle, no. Cardinals, no. 49ers are probably going to be in the mix for a quarterback, whether it's a free agent or a guy in the draft, because the rumors for San Francisco are not pro Jimmy Garoppolo. Drew agrees. Brees definitely retires. I agree with Drew there. So the 49ers could move on from Garoppolo. Another potential for the Patriots. So again, It's TGI Sports Talk. Billy hates it when I gets fixated on Brady or the Pats, but being a Patriots fan, I'm going to be a little more talk about the Patriots. But anyway, so I got 3 guys. I got 4 guys the Patriots are going to be interested in. I got 4 or 3. Stafford, Jimmy G, maybe Ian Book in the draft, or some other guy from wherever, East Tennessee State, they'll find. And Andy Dalton even maybe. So there's going to be some movement. I think there's going to be a lot of movement this year. Coaches, quarterbacks. Let's talk Patriots last game. I got to talk about it in a minute. It's over. Horrible. We're moving on to the picks here, guys. So you guys tell me who's picking. I think I got all my pickers here, so I assume you're going to pick. If there's anybody new in the room that wants to pick, jump in. This is going to be week 14. We know Keith is in. We know Bill's in. And I'm going to talk about the Patriots while you guys are telling me. So Thursday night's game, tell me you're in, and then I'll talk about Thursday night's game. You can also tell me who you had Thursday night. The Patriots were awful. Cam got benched fourth quarter. Patriots got run all over. Rams must have run for 200 and some yards. I don't even know the final totals. Patriots shot themselves in their foot a bunch of times. They had a turnover that would have, if they could have turned that into points, they got run back for a touchdown, but called back because he was down by contact. If they could have turned that into points, the game might have been different, but they turned the ball right back over. Cam is not the answer here. That was the epitome. I mean, they beat the Chargers 45-0, but they beat the Chargers 49-0. Then they played the Rams. The Rams obviously have an NFL defense, one of the better front fours in the league, and a really good secondary. And Cam was exposed for everything that he is. You cannot run Auburn's playbook and beat NFL teams like the Rams. They ran the triple option often against one thing that I was upset about early myself was I didn't see the same motion on the offense. I didn't see a lot of the stuff that I normally was seeing, not normally seeing, but the things that they put in against the Chargers. And maybe it was there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I am the only one on the Patriots. True. In Pick'em and here, I'm sure I was as well. You guys are on the honor system, but I doubt any of you took the Patriots. Just not a good look at a horrible performance in my mind. The special teams played pretty well again. Gunner, I think he's going to have a place on his team for a while. They didn't run the football well. They didn't throw it well, and it's obvious. Here's the biggest takeaway. It's obvious they don't trust Drew. Get Drew out of my mind. Sorry, Drew, they don't trust you to throw the football. They don't trust Cam to throw the football, much less in the red zone throw the football. They had 3 trips inside the red zone. I don't know if they threw the ball once, maybe once. I'm sorry. You got to trust your quarterback down there. So anyway, the Patriots season's done. I'm upset, as I mentioned earlier. They're not playing Stidham the last 3 games, find out what they have there. I like the kid. He's had 0 chance in real opportunities, in real time. He had some going into the season. They had a lot of confidence in him. That's why they waited and signed Cam Newton for $1 million for 1 year, because they thought Stidham was going to be the guy. Stidham got hurt in training camp. Stidham didn't play well in training camp. Cam has been, by all accounts, a great teammate. He works hard, but Cam's best days are behind him. I don't like the way I did it again. I don't like the way Cam carries himself on the field. I just don't. Anyway, you can talk about Tom Brady screaming, yelling. I'd rather have Tom Brady leading, firing guys up on a sideline rather than Cam Newton every time they're behind, pouting with his head down in a towel on the sideline. Can't watch it anymore. God. Hey, am I upset, Bill? No, I don't think Belichick throws away the game. I don't think it's in his DNA. I think he wants to win every game. But, you know, again, he's going to play Cam because he feels he's doing the best thing for the team because Brady doesn't cry. You need to watch the games, Bill. Brady doesn't cry. Brady's a competitor. Brady's one of the toughest guys that ever played in the NFL. I'll put him up against anybody who's ever played this game as far as it comes to toughness. And every quarterback cries, if you want to use that term. But Brady gets in guys' faces. Brady motivates guys. You want to tell me that from a leadership standpoint, Tom Brady is not head and shoulders above Cam Newton? Please. Stay with the Jets. Gosh. Oh, fired up now. Fired up. All right, here we go. Where are we? Thursday night's game. Keith's got the Patriots. I got to get to the mic. Hold on, I got to get to my... All right. So Patriots, whatever. They were getting not enough. 3.5. They lose. Where is everybody? Keith's a little fired up today. Now take it personally, Bill. I hear this from everybody. That's why. It's not a personal thing. You're still my buddy. All right. Anybody give me their picks from Thursday night yet? I don't see. Oops, somebody's got it. I got to go back up. I got to go back up the comments here, guys. Hold on. Drew had the Rams. Yeah. Okay, so Keith starts out 0-1, which he's not surprised at. By the way, guys, just real quick. Crap. I was going to recap last week's. I don't have the page up, but let me see if I can get there quick. Let's see if I can get there quick. I'll give you last week's recap. Unless one of you guys knows it off the top of your head. But I want to congratulate our winners on the air. I did it on the page, but I want to make sure I do it on the air. Okay, here we are, week 13. Drew, 9-6. Ties with Rick Sherlock at 9-6. Great job, guys. Not an easy week. Billy P comes in at 8-7. And PGI Sports Talk in last place at 7-8 again. My season record, by the way, 88, 99, and 5. And that was after getting off to a wonderful start the first 2 or 3 weeks until we started this group pick'em thing, which I've had a lot of fun with, guys. I enjoy it. So let's keep it up. Let's keep the pressures on. And here we go. First game of week 14 we will talk about will probably be the best game on the schedule at 1 o'clock today on CBS. The Chiefs are a 7-point favorite. You know, the tie. I'm sorry, Tua's been up and down with the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 8-4, and they've done a great job winning and playing well on all phases of the game. Tua's been a bit up and down though, and Kansas City, again, boredom is the thing that I worry about with them. They've struggled in places, but to me, they're still head and shoulders above everybody else. I'm going to lay the points on the road here and take Kansas City -7. Rick's got Kansas City. Drew's got Kansas City, and Billy's got Kansas City. I'm not sure we did all that well on the games we all were on last week. I'd have to go back and recap that. Drew does an excellent job, by the way. So, and I mentioned this last week. Drew, I think Billy and Rick would be great additions to your pick'em league. And guys, you'd have fun. There's no points. There's nothing at stake but bragging rights. But Drew does a wonderful job. And Drew, I've never told you this. I think I have told you this face to face. But Drew does a wonderful job. A little recap email each week, breaking down every game and how many games everybody was on, how many games nobody was on, how many games one team guy was on. He does a great job recapping the whole week. It's a lot of fun. But I think these guys would be great additions, Drew. So I think we'd have some fun with that. Just my 2 cents. It's your league, so I'm not trying to overstep my bounds. Just want to mention that again. We'll move on to the Sunday night game. Another big game. Steelers at the Bills. The Bills are 2.5. Pittsburgh coming off a loss to a not entirely shocking loss to the team formerly known as the Redskins. So this line, I don't know. The Bills have been a bit up and down. The Bills really won big in San Francisco, which surprised me a little bit last week, even without, even with all the 49ers problems. I guess it was as easily as they won. So the Bills being a 2.5-point favorite here. It's an important game to Pittsburgh and the Bills. It's an important game to Pittsburgh in the sense that, they're trying to keep home field away from Kansas City. But I think I'm going to, I'm taking Pittsburgh here, guys, plus 2.5. Drew's on Pittsburgh. Yeah, so Drew will need your emails. Guys, if you want to participate in Drew's Pick'em League next year, jump in. And he'll make sure that you get an invite. So we got Pittsburgh all across the deal. Billy's on Pittsburgh. Rick's on Pittsburgh. All right, guys. Moving right along. Minnesota. Rick's team, the Minnesota Vikings. Kind of a must win for both teams here. Minnesota at Tampa Bay. The Bucs are 6.5-point favorites. This game will be 1 p.m. on Fox. Not sure we get it locally here. I'm thinking we may not. It's a shame because it ought to be a really good game. The Tampa Bay's been on a spiral. I've talked a lot about it in the last few weeks. I've talked about some of the dysfunction within the team, within the offense. The Vikings have got a must-win here. He bit me in the butt every time I've done this, but I'm taking the Vikings. I hate to root against Tommy, but I'm taking the Vikings. Plus 6.5. Drew's got Minnesota. We know who Rick's got. I don't even know to write him down, do I? So it's up to Billy. We'll take the Bucs. And Brady. We know he loves Tom Brady. You know you love Tom Brady, Bill Pulver. Tell me you wouldn't like to have had Tom Brady and have the run for 20 years that the Patriots just came off of. Now, I know there's other variables, but let's just take that leap. Tell me you wouldn't want Tom Brady in your team for the last 12 years. Drew, I can't get the red zone since I switched off of because I'm all wireless now. I don't have cable. I don't pay $75 a month for cable boxes, and I stream everything. So AT&T TV does not offer, even though they're DirecTV and DirecTV has got the ticket. They don't offer the red zone, unfortunately. I've looked for ways to get it. I'll keep looking. I may look again today before the games start. But thank you. I love the red zone. Guys, I think I said this last week. When I had the red zone and the Patriots weren't playing, that's how I watched football. Everything I watched on the red zone. So, Billy's sigh. That's not an answer, Bill. All right, moving on. Colts my hated Colts. I pick against them every week, don't I? The Colts are at the Raiders. Somehow, the Colts are a 3-point favorite here. The Raiders came east last week and played the Jets, and we all know what happened in that game. They got gifted a game. Tough coming east to play. We know that. Not as hard to go west. Jacobs is out most likely for Vegas. So you see the Colts as a 3-point favorite here, but I'm going to take the Raiders. I'm staying my anti-Colts stance, and I'm taking the Raiders at home +3. Billy's got the Raiders. Drew's got the Colts. You spend that time driving to watch and drink where? I know every time I disparage Rivers, he does great. I didn't say anything bad about Rivers, though. I'm going to abstain from that this week. Maybe I did earlier. Billy's got the Raiders. Oh, I said that. Who's okay? Colts for Rick. I was reading back to Colts. I'm sorry, Colts. Rick's previous message. You spend that time driving home to watch and drink. Well, to watch the. Not anymore. I don't have time. And I have. Go live, guys. All right. If I left, I'm back. I was clicking around on something. Yeah, I'm not sure if Rick is talking about I used to come to Amsterdam to watch the Patriots or watch football Sundays. It's the only time I get to see my buddy Mark and Joe the Pro, and Billy Slocum and Tommy Adamczyk, and I miss all you guys. If you see this, I hope you know that. I was actually going to reach out to each one of you here at some point. Maybe even set up a room to watch football on a Sunday. Haven't done it. But with COVID, the recovery room doesn't have football. So haven't done that. Gone to Amsterdam to watch the Patriots when they have not been on TV. I've gone to Mark's house to watch. That's it. So I will be home with my lovely wife watching football and planning on. I won't get into it. Looking at houses already. House plans for whenever we sell this house. I keep telling her it's at least 5 years away, but we're looking at floor plans. Anyway, next game. Getting late. Cardinals at the Giants. Cardinals are -2.5. The Giants are playing better. Daniel Jones is probably back. I haven't heard. You guys may know that better than I. Who did I pick? I picked the Raiders, guy. I picked the Raiders, Bill. So I'm alone on that pick, by the way. No, I'm sorry. You have the Raiders, too. Make sure I wrote that down. I can't read my writing. All right. Colts at the Giants. Jones may be back. Colt McCoy played well last week, at least well enough, managed the game well enough for them to get a victory. And who knows what Kyle Murray's status is. I think he's hurt, or is the league caught up with him? I don't know. But I'm going to take the Giants. I hate this. And it's funny, I just saw Drew pick them. Because Drew doesn't pick New Jersey teams, I don't think. Nor do I. But I'm on the Giants again. Jones is back today. Thank you, Drew. Billy's on the Giants. And Rick Sherlock is on the Cards to bounce back. You know, I could change my pick before we end this segment. I don't know. Washington, team formerly known as the Redskins, at the 49ers. Niners are 3. Both teams are 5-7. They're going in different directions, though, guys. 49ers have not played well. Redskins have played well. The aforementioned Alex Smith has played very well. And look at 49ers don't have a quarterback. They don't have a lot of stuff. They're just so beat up. Plus, they've had to relocate out of their facility. God knows when they can go back. I think they might be able to go back. It's possible the restrictions will be lifted next week. I don't know. But given the situation in the country, I don't know. So the line is 3 49ers. I'm going to take the Redskins here in the points. I didn't write down the points in the giant game. What did I say they're getting? Plus 2.5? Okay. Billy's on the Skins. Rick's going to take the home, well, theoretically home team, San Francisco. And Washington Footskins is going to be Drew's pick. All right, we got one lone soldier there. Packers at the Lions. I had the Lions last week because teams, are, especially this year, have gotten a really good boost when they fired a head coach and put an interim into place. But today they got the Packers at Ford Field. Packers are 7.5-point favorites. Packers are probably wrapped up the division. It's going to get, again, when teams start to get 2 and 3 game leads, you start to worry, but especially you worry about giving up big points on the road. But the Lions have been a mess. Jones and Adams are just have matched up very well. The Lions played very well offensively last week with their index card head coach Darrell Bevel, who I know Rick loves. But I'm going to take the Packers and lay the points here. I got to come up with three games for the cigar box, and I'm not sure where to go, guys. So Billy's on the Pack, Drew's on the Pack. Maybe I'll look quick and I'll try to give you guys who I think I'm going to take. Where's Rick? I don't think I see Rick's pick yet. So I guess I will say, and again, we're on the internet. I could probably say the word if I want, but I won't. We'll be language friendly. Rick is taking the effing Packers. Oh, I understand how you feel, Rick. Whenever I have to take the Dolphins or the Jets or the Bills, it makes me want to barf. The Saints at the totally disintegrating Philadelphia Eagles. Again, 7-point favorite on the road. The Saints. They played well. Hill's done pretty well. I took the Falcons, I think, to upset I bet them as well last week, the Saints. And the Saints they're winning. They're covering. Eagles are a mess. Jalen Hurts, is he the answer? God, I don't think so. Saints, -7. Sherlock Holmes is swearing again. Oh, you got to swear at your division opponents. Rick's on the Saints. Drew. No? Well, yes, Saints. I'm not sure what the no was for. Bill, you got a pick in here? Pack. Thank you. All right, moving on. Tennessee at the Jaguars. Another big road favorite. Oh, my God. Has this been the year for road favorites? Every week I say this. I've never seen such consistently high spreads on the road. So there's some bad football teams out there, guys. 7.5-point favorites at Jacksonville. The Tennessee Titans are. How can you pick the Jaguars here? How can you pick the Jaguars here? I don't know if Mike Glennon's still playing quarterback today. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is there. Derrick Henry is going to run all over this team. Tennessee, -7.5. Rick's got Tennessee. Drew's got Tennessee. Oh, New Orleans. Oh, thank you, Bill. And did you pick here, Bill? Yeah. Oh, Bill, you bring a lot of you guys all that make me laugh, and we have fun during this segment. I love it. I don't know how great a visual it is for our watching audience. I hope they enjoy it because I have a blast doing this with you guys and the banter back and forth. And I'm so happy you guys that have picked up this little camaraderie and kibitz amongst yourselves as well. Makes my job easier. Jets at the Seahawks. 13.5-point favorites the Seahawks are. How happy the Seahawks got to be to see the Jets come into town after losing to the Giants. There's no way the Jets have a chance in this game, and I don't think there's any way they have a chance to cover this game. Seattle, lay the big wood here, 13.5. You guys don't even want to pick this game. Remember what's on the line for the Jets. Oh, I know who Billy's taking. Seahawks. Rick's got the Seahawks. Drew's on the Jets. God help him. He's asking for help from God now. Take 2 New Jersey teams in one day. Can't do it. Broncos at the Panthers. Panthers are 3.5. 2 teams that are, getting ready to play golf if they're allowed to once the season's over with COVID restrictions wherever they may be going. The Denver defense has been pretty good even without a healthy Von Miller. Carolina's offense probably has fewer injuries, so I got to go with Carolina here. I've been really talking up Matt Rule all year. I've been on the Panthers in a couple of big spots. They've let me down a couple times, but they've also helped me. 3.5, I'll lay on the Panthers. Drew's on the Panthers. Billy, you had a tough decision there. Just realized you took the Seahawks over the Jets. Interesting. Billy's on the Panthers here, and Rick is on the Panthers. We're all on the Panthers. All right, we got to be getting to the end here, guys. A couple more games. Wow. A lot more games. All right, let's speed it up. We're going overtime. Where'd I leave off? Falcons at the Chargers in a game nobody cares about. Falcons go out there a 2.5-point favorite on the road against a Charger team that has just been a mess, found all kinds of ways to lose. They lost to a bad Patriot team 45-0 2 weeks ago. The Falcons have gotten a bit healthier. They played better under Raheem Morris. They beat me every time. I had them in the cigar box last week. Good freaking grief. I'm on Atlanta. God help me. -2.5. Billy, Falcons. Drew, Falcons. We're all going to hate this pick. Rick's on the Falcons. All right, moving on. Texans at the Bears. A lot of nobody cares games right here until we get to Monday night, maybe. Texans at the Bears. We won't spend a lot of time on this game either. Again, the Texans have played better since Romeo Crennel's been the coach. The line here is, by the way, again, the road team's favored again at 2 points. Shows you where the Bears are. Their quarterback situation's a mess. Trubisky's back, I believe. He's still the quarterback this week. I got to take the Texans. I cannot believe how many road dogs or favorites I've taken here. Bad teams. Billy's on the Bears. I think they've quit. I think the Bears have quit on Nagy. I will tell you that straight out. Texans for Drew. Texans for Rick. Billy, you're the lone wolf on this game. Another exciting game. The Cowboys at the Bengals. Another horrible football team favored on the road. The Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. But no Joe Burrow. The coach is in danger of losing his job. He's losing a locker room. There's a lot of problems. The Cowboys do still have a 2% chance of making the playoffs, by the way. Yeah, I'll take the Cowboys. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find 2 games to pick in the cigar, or 3 games to pick. Bengals for Bill. Cowboys for Rick. And Drew is on the Cowboys. You need a lot of help from God today, Drew. I hope he answers I hope he does not forsake you. Lastly, gosh, painful getting through those last 6 games. Wow. Ravens at the Browns, which is actually a very big game. Bigger game probably for the Ravens than the Browns. The Ravens are a 1-point favorite at Cleveland, another road favorite. At least this is a better team. Cleveland has really not played well against better teams this year. I think they will struggle with Lamar Jackson. I think he will have a big game. I do not like Baker Mayfield. He is 9-3. You are what your record says you are, but I will take the Ravens to stay alive in the playoff race, -1. I may save a pick for that game in the cigar box. 1 point, Bill. 1 point, Ravens. Rick's on the Ravens. Drew's on the Browns. And Billy's on the Browns. And that concludes our selections. Guys, let me scan over this. Maybe I can give you a quick thought of what I may do today. Boy, it's ugly. I am possibly on the Raiders. I am possibly on the Packers. I am possibly on the Panthers. So maybe I'll let you guys know. I got to narrow down, and maybe the Ravens Monday night. So we'll see how it goes. Great show today, guys. I have enjoyed my time. I hope you do. Covering college football and professional football is a passion of mine. Covering sports is a passion of mine. I know Brett Cloutier would like me to talk more hockey. Maybe we will at some point. Maybe we'll break these shows out to be league specific. I don't know yet. We'll see how that goes. But I want to thank all of you. I want to thank my guest from last Friday, Roy White. It was a tremendous interview. Again, apologize for the audio issues, but it was a great interview. Get through it. It's not the worst. Drew, good point. Mets signed McCann, one of the first big free agent signings of the offseason, and they brought in a new GM, Porter. So things are happening for Drew's Mets. We'll see. New owner, Steve Cohen. Lots of money. We'll see. The baseball hot stove will be picking up about the time we'll be getting ready to talk about it as college football winds down. And the college basketball season is kind of meaningless, but we'll talk a little bit about it as we go forward. Next week, Todd Stottlemyre, Friday, 8 a.m. live, former Major League pitcher, 2-time world champion with the Blue Jays, the son of Yankee legend Mel Stottlemyre, and the author of a couple of really interesting self-help books, for lack of a better term. But we'll talk to Todd about that and more next Friday. I'll see you then. I'll see you here next Sunday at 9 a.m. as well. Thanks, guys. Have a great football Sunday.